All right, this is a quick test, real quick test. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. How do I look? Posture, pencil. This is the story of how a man with no boat ownership experience embarked on his sailboat life dream with very little money, a talent for telling stories, and a deep desire to know the sea. I'd like to thank my patrons for helping make all this possible. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment, or help out financially by clicking my Patreon link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and on with the show. Okay, I found my notes. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Forgive me, YouTube, for it has been many weeks since my last confession. I'm going to blame the weather. I'm going to blame holiday travel. I'm going to blame lots of things, but ultimately there just wasn't a whole lot of sailing content that I wanted to make. It was raining. I couldn't really take the boat out. Then I went up to Canada to visit my sister and her lovely children in Vancouver. And while I was there, the weather continued to deteriorate here and up there, and we had to deal with some of that. And then I got back, and it's just been kind of like hunkered down, rainy, rainy, rainy. I've discovered all kinds of new leaks in the boat. This little window here leaks and drips down, and got into some paperwork, and there's a leak right above my sleeping quarters, and I discovered that it is impossible to sleep when there's water dripping on your head. So, you know, I've been just dealing with really mundane, annoying, uncomfortable things that don't make for very good YouTube content. So I haven't made any videos, but I know I said in the past that that I wanted to be more regular about this stuff, and so I'm sitting down today to attempt to do that. There's no sailing content. If you're hoping to see some pretty pictures of Bodega Bay, this is not your episode. And I'm sorry, but yeah, so I wanted to give you a little bit of an update. I wanted to update the channel and just reflect publicly. This is my public platform. Reflect publicly on the year that I just had and some of my hopes for next year, and a few things that have really influenced me and kept me going. So I'm going to dive right in. I actually wrote out some questions because I couldn't think of a better way to do this. So the first question is, what was the best thing that happened to me in 2022? So I would have to say that the best thing that happened to me in 2022 was really just getting started with this channel. And actually, I set a goal at the beginning of when I started posting specifically the sailing vlog videos of doing one a week without fail, and didn't make that goal, but I still managed to post nearly 20 videos specifically about sailing. And that was a good feeling. I also launched my Patreon account and have just really kind of refocused my media, my own personal work on this channel, and trying to make this dream possible, or make it a reality. You know, I've never done anything like this before, and I don't have any background experience. I went sailing with my grandfather once when I was a very small child, and I have some sailing background with small craft like small sailing kayaks and things like that, and I've spent thousands of hours in canoes and other small boats, but I've never done anything like this. And I kind of thought that when I got the boat, it was going to be like I was going to step onto the boat and sail off into the sunset, and that was going to be that. It was just like the biggest hurdle was just to find the boat. I was really shocked to see how much time and effort and anxiety came with owning such a vessel. You know, I think that my circumstances are unique in the fact that I don't really have a buffer. I don't have a huge bank account that I can just bail myself out with if I run into problems or I need there's an emergency. I'm basically on the wire this whole time. So I didn't get started with my dream, the dream of sailing off in the sunset for quite a while, for a whole year after I bought the boat. I was reluctant to post any videos or talk about it because I wasn't doing much with it. And then this past year, I really stepped on the gas and tried to make this a priority. It sounds funny, like it's just some sort of random choice that you have to make, but it's also wrapped up in this anxiety, this fear of losing the boat, losing this opportunity. Yeah, so it's not easy. It's not easy when there's no one around and there's no one to kind of lead the way. There's no path to follow. You're just going off of a weird fuzzy dream that you've had forever, and it takes, I gotta say, it takes real courage just to start. So this past year, 2022, was the year that I pulled the trigger and started doing this for real, and that was the best part of this year. All right, next question. What was the worst part of 2022? Well, the worst part of 2022 has been my anxiety. Just the gut-wrenching fear that you're one bad slip or you're one moment away from total catastrophe, like game over. And that is directly related to the fact that work what I do, I'm a freelance filmmaker. I've been doing this for a long time. And I chose to live up here in beautiful Sonoma County, where it's very isolated, because I love it up here. It's gorgeous. But that also meant that, like, most of my clients, most of the bigger clients that I had in the past, are just not interested in the commute, and I'm not interested in commuting down there. And so yeah, a lot of the work, a lot of the higher paying jobs that I was doing have kind of dried up, especially since COVID. So this past year, I have just spent like a ton of time searching for an opportunity, searching for a way to make this, because all of this, slip fees, and I got to save up so I can get the boat lifted out of the water and do a bottom job and all that stuff. It's like it all costs money, and you have to keep the wheels turning. So, yeah, looking for work this past year has been extremely frustrating. And I've heard it from other folks too. I'm hearing crickets from every angle there is, and that has been the hardest part. Just like eking out an existence month to month, trying to make this thing go, and just not getting any opportunities. I think, like, not to just cry a river, but like, at the very end of the year, around November, the end of November, a friend turned me on to this website called TaskRabbit, which has allowed me to do a few odd jobs for folks in the area, and make some extra money that way. And I don't really need a whole lot, so a few hundred a week is the difference between go or stop. And so that's been a shining, that last moment of the year where that opportunity came about, and it actually worked. I filled out the application, or not the application, but the profile, and I put my services up there. And I had no idea if it was going to work. Nothing else had worked so far, so I was didn't really expect much. And I posted it up and started getting some opportunities. And so that has been a really positive thing as far as the work front is concerned. It does lead me, my next question actually is what are your plans for 2023? So I guess I'll just dive into it. I have a feeling that I would get more opportunity for this kind of like gig economy, working the TaskRabbit gig, if I was down in the Bay Area. Right now I'm up in Bodega Bay, which is about an hour and a half driving north, approximately 3-4 hours sailing south, when and if I ever get the nerve to do so. But yeah, I think maybe there might be more opportunity for this kind of like gig economy income, and I can still maintain my clients from down there in the Bay, the few video clients that I have remaining. So the reasons for staying up here in Bodega Bay are starting to be hard to see. It's like such a beautiful spot. It's so beautiful. I can't describe it. This past Christmas, I was lucky enough, like maybe a month ago, I was out in Bodega Bay practicing my anchor setup, failing miserably, but like, just practicing. And it was a beautiful, calm day. And this photographer, I'll show the photograph now, but this photographer took my picture, took the picture of the boat and Bodega Bay, and it was just such a beautiful thing to see that somebody else had noticed how remarkable this could be, and that was something that happened anyway over the holidays that I am also grateful for. But yeah, so plans for 2023. I think I need to get this boat out of this Spud Point Marina and into a different slip, like try something new. I'd love to just go off the hook, but I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know how to use my dinghy yet. I'm still working out the finer intricacies of all that setup and whatever, let alone just trying to sail south. So, yeah, I think that's the goal, is to get this boat and myself down into San Francisco Bay somewhere, maybe Vallejo, not sure, and just try a few months there and be a little closer to a bigger community, so hopefully more work, and just get those wheels moving again. The thing I discovered this past year is that I love being on the boat. I love it, even though it's raining and cold and wet and horrible outside and I've got leaks everywhere. It's a really nice place to be. I really enjoy just all the time that I spend on the boat. Even if I'm just sitting here, I just enjoy it. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to 2023. I think it's going to be a good one. I got a new patron, and I just want to say thank you to all my patrons. I don't have that many, and I sincerely appreciate the gesture of saying I acknowledge what you're doing and I support you. You have no idea what it means to me, and so I really appreciate that. And while I was away on my little trip this past Christmas, I got another patron, which I was thrilled about. And this was actually somebody that I did not know before. Most of my other patrons are people that I kind of sort of know. But this guy had seen my videos and really liked what I was doing. And he sent me this really cool email. My new patron, his name is, he's going by Dingy, which is super cool. I love that. And he wrote to me, he said, I have a 19-foot Flying Scott dinghy. My wife and I are trying to learn to sail it. You say, I value your determination to learn to sail, and anything about that is great. For me personally, one thing I would be interested in is your experience in finding and purchasing the boat, how you came to choose an Erickson. So, dude, first of all, thank you again for signing up. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to go through real quick and answer some of these questions because I think you have some really great questions. So how did I find this boat? Well, I've been living up here in Northern California, like north of San Francisco, in a tiny little kind of West Sonoma County community of Occidental, and had been looking all over the place for a boat. This dream has been persistent since I was a kid. So I've always just kind of been looking. And I looked at boats up in Vancouver, Washington, or Vancouver, Canada, for example. Very glad I didn't buy that boat. That would have been a nightmare trying to get it back down here. And I looked at boats in the Bay Area as well. I looked at all different kinds of boats. And, with somebody with like absolutely zero background, I don't have a favorite brand of boat. I don't know much about sailboats, to be honest with you. I don't know I'd read all the books and like watched as many videos as I possibly could about how to like look for problems and things that you need to look out for. But I didn't know a whole lot. And like the boat I was looking up in Vancouver, that was a 42-foot boat and would have been way too big for me just as a total beginner. I think that would be a bad call. It was a mizzen mast, so it had a mast at the back and a main mast. It would have been really, really difficult as a single solo beginner sailor to figure that out. So I'm glad that fell through. I actually lost a little money. I put money down on that boat, but then decided at the last minute that I just couldn't do it, so I lost my deposit. But how I chose this particular boat is, again, I'm living up in, I have a little kind of off-grid cabin that I stay in up in Occidental, and I've been there for a while. And again, looking around in the area, and all of a sudden, something on Craigslist popped up, and down here in Bodega Bay, which is approximately 15 minutes, 20 minutes away from Occidental. And it was a 32-foot boat. It seemed like it was the right size. And I just got to know the guy who sold it to me. He was a local guy, an older guy who didn't really want to sell the boat. He was having some back issues and some health issues, and really couldn't do much with it anymore, and didn't want it to go to waste. But I could tell that he didn't really want to sell it. So we worked out a deal where I was able to keep it in the slip space. That was key here at Spud Point Marina. And, we formed a little relationship. And it was really that sold me on the boat, and not the boat itself. It turns out that it's an Erickson, and I did do a little research. These Ericksons were really well built here in California, I think Southern California. This one is a 1975 or 76 model. So it's kind of from an era where they used to use a lot of epoxy and a lot of fiberglass and things that they don't even have permission to use anymore, essentially. But they're built really solid, these older boats. So they're not as spacious. They're not as, I guess, like fast or whatever. But really, that's those issues really didn't come up when I decided on this boat. It was really about the opportunity of stepping into something that wasn't like having to move to Canada or whatever. It was literally just down the road. So I've had it here now for approximately a year and a half, and it's been a lot slower. This whole process has just been a lot slower. Things like insurance. I know one of your questions was about insurance. And getting the paperwork all situated. All this stuff has just taken months and months and months. And again, when you don't have a ton of money and you can't just you're kind of waiting for the check to come in so that you can fill out the paperwork or whatever, it's like taking even longer. Okay, so you say you're talking about looking for a boat, and then you have to find a consensus, and it's difficult to find one with a smile, because I know you have a partner, and you gotta find something that your partner's gonna like. So all I can say is that's at the end of the day, you're lucky to have that problem, because having a partner in this whole dream, I don't know, it's not really a regret, because it's not by choice. I'm not choosing to be alone, I guess. I just happen to be alone in this whole adventure. And having someone around you to hand you the dock lines or pick up an anchor ball or something like that, is hugely helpful on a sailboat. Doing this solo has been really challenging. So find something that she likes, and make that a priority. Oh yeah, you say, your experience with obtaining insurance is interesting to me. Do you have to prove that you could sail before they would insure it? So yeah, no, the insurance thing is super simple. Like I said, I got mine through Progressive. They just want, like, once the actual transfer of the actual vessel paperwork is done, they need some information from that. But then it's just like, give them some money and wham bam, thank you, ma'am, you got some insurance. I actually got the insurance. They have a policy where you could get like a sea tow version. So if you ever were in a situation where your rudder falls off or whatever, and you're near one of these places, I guess you can call and they'll come and tow you back in, and that's covered too, kind of like AAA or whatever for your car. So that's cool. The main ingredient is always money. What do you have to do to maintain the boat while it's in the water? Do you have to regularly clean the hull by getting into the water, or is a dinghy and a brush good enough? Good questions, great questions. So far, I have avoided actually getting into the water. Once I actually hired a guy in the marina here. I think it was like $150. He came by. He has a whole scuba suit and whatever, and he came by and scraped off the bottom of the boat for me. I also. I'm on a dock here. I'm like, on a proper dock, so I can stand on the dock, and I fastened a little, like basically a toilet brush to the bottom of a long stick, and that works pretty good to get like the worst of it off. She's definitely overdue for a haul out and a whole new bottom job and a bunch of other maintenance. That's one of my goals for this next year, is to, again, get her down to somewhere I can actually get this work done. It's really difficult to do. There's no place to do it here in Bodega Bay. There is a place in Tamales Bay, which is extremely difficult to get to. It's not as far as San Francisco Bay, but there's a very narrow channel that you have to navigate to get in and out of Tamales Bay. I've actually known a few people who have run aground there and lost their boats. So I'm reluctant to go to Tamales Bay. But yeah, so far, maintenance has been all in the water, from what I can do. And there is a lot more that I need to do. It's an ongoing thing. So I know that, like, by staying down here on the boat, like the majority of each week, is the biggest part of maintenance on a boat. Like, just being here and making sure things stay dry, and not leaving the boat for months on end when you're not using it or whatever. I think that, like, actually being on the boat for the majority of my time is the best ingredient for maintenance. Okay. So basically you wrap it up by saying, I have a lot of questions, but all that stuff about the boat and maintenance is interesting to me. In addition, your experience with gaining sailing skills. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Those are my thoughts as I'm sitting here in the icing conditions of Vancouver, Washington. My questions are just ideas for posts that you might do. I appreciate you, or I appreciate whatever you want to share, and it looks like you have a good start to many adventures. I look forward to your experience. Again, thank you so much, Dingy. I'm going to call you Dingy because that's what you called yourself. Thank you so much, and I just, to all my patrons out there, thank you very much. These questions and this communication is vitally important to me, so thank you again. I thought I would end this video with a couple of clips from things that have influenced me over this past year, which again has been a pretty tough year. If you're not familiar with the Salty Sea Dog, this guy Barry is a legend in my mind. He's a real hero to me. And just recently he posted up an interview that somebody did. I think he's in New Zealand or Fiji at this point.
It was part of a dream come true. The whole dream is really to do a certain circumnavigation. But I'm taking it one little bit at a time. That's the way to do things like this, I reckon. Not to make the goal too big that you can't fulfill it. So it's bit by bit by bit.
The whole interview is fantastic. I'll link it in the description below. I strongly recommend that if you're interested in this sort of thing, whether it be off-grid living or sailing around the world or just living a dream that seems impossible, I think you'd really enjoy this interview. The Salty Sea Dog is easily one of my favorite YouTube sailing sailing vlog channels. And he was, I think, instrumental in me really pulling the trigger. He's been doing this now for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. And I started following him a long time ago and watched him sail across the Atlantic. I watched him sail through the Panama Canal. I watched him sail across the Pacific Ocean. And he's just really inspired me. And his can-do attitude and courage is incredible. So thank you, Salty Sea Dog. I appreciate it. I hope you don't mind me using your clip, but I am giving you credit in the description below, and I'm hopefully getting other people to watch your clip, so hope that works. Thanks very much for watching, and thank you to my patrons. Thank you to all those new subscribers and people who have commented here on YouTube. I sincerely appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.